Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a Kickstarter preview. This one is for Imperium, the Contention, which is a 2 to 4 player 4X game that uses cards to power the entire game.
Yeah, it's kind of a streamlined 4X that's designed to be played in 2 hours or less, where you are competing with 2, 3 or other more players to control the Imperial capital and defeat your opponents.
Yep, so you're going to see here, this is a 4-player game setup, and you're going to notice a number of different cards. You have each player coming with their own homeworld, and that's going to be face up. Of course, these can be destroyed, and you can be eliminated from this game. You're going to have the Imperial capital in the center, and then you have a number of different planets, but they're all face down and all randomly assorted.
That's right. There are a bunch of different layouts for the game based on how many players you're going to have, or you can be a little creative and come up with your own layouts if you want.
Each player is also going to come with their own deck of cards that's going to match their homeworld. So all these decks are completely asymmetrical in the way they play and the powers that they give.
Yeah, in addition, the game is actually going to come with a ton of other cards. You can use those pre-constructed decks, or you can get a little more in depth and actually build your own deck for your race that uses your race's cards plus some of those generic cards.
One other thing we need to mention before we start talking about the game is that this is a prototype that you see. There may be some changes beforehand, so make sure you guys go to the Kickstarter page to see all of those changes. All right, at the start of the game, every player is going to draw 4 cards into their hand, and then they're going to take their bluff card. Everyone's going to be given one of these cards. This is going to show you all the different steps within the game, but it's also going to be the card that you play when you decide to pass within a round.
That's right, and those 4 cards you're given at the start of the game, these can be mulliganed. If you don't like your starting hand, or if you have a lot of things that are very expensive, you can shuffle them back into your deck, draw 4 new cards, and then start the game.
Each player will also have a counter in the game. In this prototype, it is a die. Each player is going to have 10 life. That's going to represent their homeworld and the health of that homeworld.
That's right. As your homeworld and your colonies take damage throughout the game, you're going to be losing your life. Now, there is not any direct attacking other players. You're going to be attacking other players' ships and stations and colonies and things like that instead.
All right, once you draw your 4 cards in your hand, you take that bluff card into your hand, you're going to start the game. And the very first thing that happens is you're going to go to the beginning step. And this is where each of the players is going to gain resources and draw 1 more card into your hand. So in fact, at the very start of the game, each player will have 5 cards plus their bluff card and resources. You're going to gain minimum 2 resources, and that's what you gain from your homeworld itself.
That's right. You're going to gain 2 resources plus 1 for every other colony that you've explored. Over the course of the game, we're going to be settling. You're going to be revealing tiles in an adjacent matter, placing your control markers on them, and settling them. So if this was what my tableau looked like, I would get 2 plus 1. I'd get 3 resources on this round.
And those resources are going to power all the cards. There's a number of different types of cards in the game. You have ships, you have agents, you have constructs, you have actions. All these have a cost in the upper left-hand corner. That's what those resources are going to be used in order to play. Once all the players have gained the resources according to what they control, plus their faction, they're going to do movement. And this is where you're going to move your ships. And you're not going to notice any miniatures in here. That's because all the cards that you have that are ships are going to actually move across the board themselves.
That's right. So if I already had some ships out on the board, I'd be able to move them all. Now, every ship has a few different stats. They have an attack value, a defense value, and a move value. Moving in this game is all orthogonal.
Yep.
So this ship can move 2 spaces. So I could move this ship 2 spaces and this ship 2 spaces and kind of spread out across the board. Now, every time you do that, you get to peek at the card. This is called exploring. And you get to see if maybe this is a card you want to go after, or maybe it's a card you want to avoid, actually.
So why would you be wanting to go after those? Well, the next step after all the players have moved in turn order, you're going to do the develop action. This is when you get to do one of 2 things. You can either settle or you can develop. I'll talk about developing. Some of the cards in the game are going to have a develop action. Most of the homeworlds are going to have a develop action. So you have to make a decision. Do I want to develop or do I want to settle? My particular homeworld allows me to move 1 enemy ship. So I can skip my settling phase and just move another ship. There's also a number of different cards that once they're played into the area, also have a develop action. So you can get that choice in what you want to do.
That's right. But at least in the beginning of the game, and probably for a while, you're going to want to settle. And to settle, it's very simple. Like I said earlier, you just flip it, place your control marker on there, and do whatever the bonus says. Now, some of these are going to give you ongoing benefits. Some of them are going to give you benefits the second they're flipped over. They'll give you one-time benefits. Now, you're going to reach a point where all of these cards are flipped over and probably all in control of the different players. In that case, there will be no settling. You'll just have to develop. If a location is destroyed, it flips back over, and then on the next round, it can be settled by somebody else.
Each of these different locations is also going to have its own defense built in, so you can destroy these if you so wish.
Yeah, and every time you do, so for example, this Swamp World has a defense value of 3. If Jeremy came in with 1 damage, he could do damage to it and deal that damage back to me. But if he came in with 4 or 5, he'd actually destroy that Swamp World, and I would take, at max, 3 damage from it being destroyed.
Once all the players have either, once they've done their development step, which either is doing development or settle, they're going to do the face-off. This is the main meat of the game. You're going to have a hand of cards, and you're going to be able to use these cards. Each of the players are going to pick one of the cards from their hand simultaneously, and they're going to place it face down in front of them. And then everyone's going to reveal those cards at the same time. These cards, of course, have costs, but they also have a wide range of abilities that they are going to do. Typically, you're bringing ships or agents into play and then using those abilities.
Yeah, there are also tech cards, upgrades, something called a construct that sits in front of you and gives you bonuses. There are a ton of different card types that do a wide range of effects, but they all have different costs. In addition, everybody has that bluff card in their hand. If you don't want to play anything, or if you have no resources left, you can play the bluff card face down. When you reveal it, you're basically passing your turn at that point.
Yep. And any of the resources that you don't use on that turn are simply going to stay in front of you, so you can build those up to play some of the more expensive cards through the course of the game. Once everyone is done doing the face-off, then you're going to battle. And I'll let you talk about battling.
So battling is done when you have 2 ships together in the same space, or a ship on the same space as a colony. For example, if these 2 ships were here, one controlled by Jeremy, one controlled by me, they can do their damage against each other. Now, ships always have to take damage before the colony. So as long as I have a ship there, Jeremy cannot destroy the colony. Even if he was doing a ton of damage, it has to be done to the ship first. In this example, my ship would do 6 damage back to Jeremy, who has a defense of 2, and he would do 2 damage back to mine, which has a defense of 7. So in this situation, Jeremy's would be destroyed. Now, if Jeremy had multiple ships there, or ships sometimes have range where they can fire additional ranges, that damage is all dealt simultaneously. So as long as he's doing 7 damage that turn between action cards, effects from different planets, or other ships, he can still destroy that. Damage is carried over through the whole turn, but only for that turn.
Everything will heal back up at the end.
Yeah, everything heals back up. If you don't destroy the ship in that turn, your ship will be destroyed, but the other ship will stay and kind of hang out. Now, if there is no ship, then you're free to do the damage directly to the colony or the planet. If your homeworld gets eliminated, that's it. You're out of the game. However, you only have 10 health to begin with. So this game is not super long. People are going to be getting eliminated at certain points.
And remember, most of these ships have special abilities as well. You have abilities that can do extra damage. You have abilities that can't even attack you, such as cloaking with a ranged type of combat. So there's a lot of ways to manipulate that and move those type of things around, so you're not in a situation where you're going to lose a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, the meat of the game is actually in all of those different card abilities and building a deck or bringing a deck that really synergizes and can create combos based on all those different cards.
So you're going to play until your last man standing.
Yeah, that's right. If you manage to control the capital, you don't automatically win. However, the capital does 2 damage to everyone else for every turn you control it. So basically, getting the capital means you're going to have a huge advantage in winning the game. Alternatively, you can win if you've placed all of your control markers on the board.
So yeah, this is a very streamlined 4X game. It's played completely with cards, and there are more than just the 4 factions you see here. So you're going to be able to mix and match different factions, and of course, as you said, add or subtract cards from your deck when you're playing it. If you guys have any questions about the game, make them in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and we'll catch you guys next time.